First of all, thank you and good afternoon. Thank you. Testing. Okay. Thank you and good afternoon. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I did prepare a slide presentation, and listening to the previous session, I feel like it wouldn't be a good use of anyone's time for me to go through a lot of the discussion that I thought we would have, because it was such an enlightening discussion earlier. I would rather Q&A carry the day. But what I'll do is I'll share with you one slide, and then I'll talk a little bit about our journey to where we are now, because I think in light of the discussion that we had today, it would be very fruitful. First of all, again, thank you for inviting me. This is a privilege to be here. I have my first trip to Beirut, my first trip to American University, and I've had a wonderful 2 days. I've had a great host and my colleague, Antoine Taillard, who's from here. And last night it was a wonderful dinner, and thank you for inviting us to that. As my bio says, I have responsibility for the 90 countries that range from Russia to Africa and all the countries in between. And my job really is public affairs and communications, so it's dealing with governments, it's dealing with media, it's dealing with stakeholders. And prior to having that role, I was in corporate. I was based in Atlanta, and I did financial communication. So I had a chance to do the quarterly earnings releases, all the communications around M&A and that sort of thing. And the only reason I share that with you is because that gave me a very global overview about what we're doing with regard to sustainability. And I'll take you back to 2004 when I joined the company. And we were in a bit of a state of disarray. Our stock price was down. We were being attacked in India because of our usage of water. We were being attacked all around the world for labor issues. And part of what we did was we took a step back, and this is sort of the process that we went through. A page down is where, there we go. This is sort of the process that we went through when we looked at our business. And I say this because there are still companies that look at CSR as a standalone or a check writing or a foundation sort of exercise. And we discovered for our business model, and I can't speak to any others, that that was a mistake. We needed to look at sustainability as part of our whole business system. And for us, because we're in 206 countries and because we're such a brand that touches so many people, we were a lot of things to a lot of different people. So in some communities, people came to us and they said, oh, we're Coca-Cola, you're going to fund all the arts. And you're going to do every play and every art exhibit that we want to show. We're going to give Coca-Cola a check. And in some markets, they said, look, we're having issues with climate and, emissions. So we're going to approach Coca-Cola to help us fix those things. And some people said, well, water. If you're using water, our products are water intensive, both in terms of their content and the amount of water that we use to produce the product. And so people were coming to us for all sorts of things. We were writing checks here and there, and there was no strategy, and we were giving away a lot of money, and we felt good about it, but at the end of the day, there was no real reason for us doing it other than people were asking. So we sat and we said, okay, let's take a step back. Let's look at our business model. Our business was doing poorly, and part of it was because we didn't have a vision. We didn't have a strategy. So we sat back and we developed what we call a 2020 vision. And from a business metric standpoint, it was, we're going to double our volume and double our revenues by the year 2020. But we also said, we can't do that if we deplete the water where we do business. We can't do it if we don't have a social license to operate. So let's figure out what is integral to our business. And so we said, clearly, water. Again, for the reasons that I outlined. So water becomes now part of a foundational business practice. So depending on where you are in the system, whatever your role is, if you're a bottling partner, if you're in PAC, if you're in public affairs and communications, if you're in marketing, you're asked, as you build your metrics for how you're going to be measured, how you're going to be compensated, how you're going to get a bonus, what are you going to do in these areas to bring us to water neutrality? That is our overarching vision, to put back into the environment the amount of water that we take out. So that allowed us to do a lot of things. It allowed us to sort of cut through the clutter and say, here is what we're going to do. And it made it much easier for the people who wanted to be our partners, who wanted to come to us, to say, okay, I got it. Here are the kinds of things that I approach Coca-Cola for. Now, we didn't foresee a worldwide recession happening, in 2008. And so all these governments now are looking for cash, and the model, the traditional model has been turned on its head when it comes to fixing social ills. And before, all the things you depended on for government are now provided by the private sector primarily, in large part. And I understand, I've only spent, 48 hours in Lebanon. I understand that's pretty much the Lebanese model as well, is that the private sector does a lot of the things that governments traditionally do in other markets. And what we've seen now is this sort of golden triangle emerge where governments work with the private sector and the private sector works with civil society, and that's how the needs of communities are getting met these days. And so we've carved out a very, very clear area of that triangle for us around water. So I tell you all that to say, yesterday I wasn't here, but I was told by some people that we had the benefit of some people talking about some of the programs we do with water, Ripples of Happiness and Every Drop Matters. And I don't want to go into a case study about what we're doing, but I just wanted you to understand the philosophy about how we're approaching it, because now every business leader, regardless of your function, has to say what they're going to do to get us back to water neutral, how we're going to put back into the environment the amount of water that we take out. And our goal for that is 2015, and we're well ahead of that. But I'll tell you one more thing about our business model before I sit down is we have a tremendous burden because we are the Coca-Cola company, and when you see a Coke can in a store or on a shelf, 9 times out of 10 we didn't put it there. We have a partner that plays an important role in this. We have bottling partners. So we have over 300 bottling partners all around the globe. And Coca-Cola company can make a commitment to be water neutral, and that's wonderful. But we've got to get these 300 partners who have different agendas sometimes, most times not, but sometimes they have different agendas, and we've got to make sure that they understand. We have to make sure they understand and buy into our vision. And we've had a tremendous amount of success in doing that. Not universally. There are still some problem areas where we've got to get bottlers on board. But we're working very, very diligently to make that happen. And so one of the things I want to talk about is, as we talk about Lebanese-specific examples today, if you have questions for me, some of those questions are going to be about actions that the bottler does, and some of those questions are going to be about what the company does. And I'll make it very clear when I answer the question from which perspective I'm speaking. But I just wanted you guys to understand our business model. So we've got a burden that if we commit to being water neutral, we have to go out and convince 300 other partners that they have to do the same thing. And that's sometimes very difficult because their biggest thing is they want to know how much we're going to charge them for the concentrate pricing, or how much marketing we're going to do in a particular area. And then one of the last things in many instances they want to talk to us about is how do they reduce the amount of water they use in the production, or how they're going to reduce the amount of water they're going to use in their operations. And so we have to go in and we have to do things like explain to them not only the social benefit but the financial benefit of reducing your footprint when it comes to the amount of water that you use. And so in many respects we're sort of salespeople to our own system. And it's a very interesting challenge to face when you've got to go, because you in the audience, when you see the Coca-Cola truck go down the street or you see Coke on the shelf, you don't ask yourself, did the company put that there or did the bottler put it there? It's all one system. And so that's how we have to act. So I look forward to your questions. I hope that we'll have a good, robust discussion. And I'll turn it over to Charlotte. Thanks.